Ever since LEGO City Undercover, LEGO games were a very welcome addition on the Nintendo Switch. From a handheld gamer's perspective, it is especially great because now we're getting console-level LEGO games on handheld platforms rather than the PS Vita and 3DS games that we were getting this past gen that were limited compared to their console counterparts. Now that we've got a new LEGO game, let's take a look at it. This is my review of the Nintendo Switch version of LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2. The story of Marvel 2 revolves around Kang the Conqueror. Using time travel technology after appearing in the skies of Manhattan, he captures the citizens of Earth and builds a utopia made up of different cities and countries from alternate time periods and alternate dimensions. After regrouping from the sudden change, the Avengers and the Guardians of the Galaxy now team up with various heroes from the alternate dimensions that have been brought in, trying to find a way to restore everything to the way it's supposed to be. Now, I wouldn't call this game's story really good. I mean, it sets itself up, and it's alright, but the real charm of it is in the smaller things. Seeing Spider-Man meeting Spider-Gwen for the first time, or seeing Miss Marvel nerd out as she explores New York Noir. That's where the real charm is. Like previous Marvel games, LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2 is a 3D platforming game with beat-em-up combat and light puzzle elements. The big addition here, especially for handheld fans, is the fact that this is an open world LEGO Marvel game. And as such, the biggest thing of note about the game, especially for handheld gamers, is the giant open world hub that you can explore. Now, previous LEGO Marvel games had a sandbox New York that you could move around, but this world is so much bigger than that. It is comprised of over a dozen locations that, when approached, are fully fledged levels all by themselves. There is so much that you can explore, and every single one of these areas has side quests, has puzzles, has collectibles to find. So even if you don't do story mode that much, once that full open world opens up, you have a lot you can do. Now, if you want to progress, you've got an ongoing story, and you move across the open world to find the locations where these story events happen. Of course, when you go into story levels, everything is enclosed. You're no longer in the open world, you're inside some sort of location. And that's really where the default LEGO formula comes into play. You've got a party of characters, you are running around beating up enemies, breaking everything in sight, assembling LEGO objects, and solving some light puzzle elements all the way up to a boss fight. That's been the LEGO formula ever since the themed LEGO games came out way back when LEGO Star Wars first came out. And of course, when you in these levels, you unlock free play, so you can go back in with other characters to unlock and go into secret areas. Now, the really great thing about these story levels is that they don't just include popular comics. I mean, sure, you've got levels that are based on Thor, Captain America, and Spider-Man, but you have a lot of lesser-known comics making appearances too, like the Old West and Submariner. There's really a lot to learn, even for a Marvel enthusiast. Now let's talk about length. With so many different franchises getting the spotlight here, the story mode is very, very long. I personally am used to handheld LEGO games taking around 6 to 8 hours to complete all of the story scenarios and get to the post-game, if there is post-game. LEGO Marvel Super Heroes took me around 16 to 17 hours to get to the end credits. Now, after you finish the story, what have you got left? You've got all of your side quests. But the open world has real-time crime events that you can participate in every single area. You've got puzzles and hidden collectibles to collect, plus you've got optional activities like races that will further unlock characters for your giant roster of Marvel heroes. In short, there's a lot to do here. Now let's talk about presentation. Visually, when you got the game docked, the game looks beautiful. No jagged edges anywhere. All of the environments look really nice. When you go into handheld mode, the Visuals do get a little blurry, as you can see in this screenshot here. It's not a huge blur, but you know, it's noticeable when you're constantly switching between TV and handheld mode. Now performance, which is probably the most important aspect of a Nintendo Switch LEGO review, because ever since LEGO City Undercover came out, people have been wary of frame drops in handheld LEGO games. As far as the frame rate goes, it's pretty smooth for the most part. The first level is a little shaky on the frame rate, dipping just under 30 frames per second. I don't think it dropped even down to 25, and most of the rest of the game is very solid and very smooth. It is definitely the most optimized LEGO game on the Switch. The only issue I have with performance is crashing. Across my 17-hour story track, I had the game crash on me twice, both times in the open world environment. There didn't really seem to be a trigger for these crashes. The first one happened when I was just flying around, and the other time was when I had just assembled an object to open up a story level. Of course, when I tried to recreate these events, nothing, no crashing. It seemed to be a random event. But it's still there, and it's still worth noting, because just because I only had 2 crashes doesn't mean you might not have more. Now, battery life. With so many LEGO games coming out on the Nintendo Switch, I look around my battery life chart whenever I add a new game, and really the LEGO games have the same range across most of them. LEGO City Undercover, LEGO Worlds, LEGO Ninjago Movie. But here are my times from 100% to 0%. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 2 hours and 47 minutes. Maximum brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 2 hours and 51 minutes. Lowest brightness with the Wi-Fi on, 3 hours and 13 minutes. And lowest brightness with the Wi-Fi off, 3 hours and 39 minutes. This is becoming really the norm for 3D games. I've seen so many 3D games come around in that 2.5 to 3.5 hour range. Now, some of them are more, some of them are less, but at least with LEGO games, I think this is the norm that we should expect going forward. Now, in conclusion, LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2 is a huge game with a huge lengthy story and a huge open world that you can explore. Now, the story isn't really anything special, and there is the issue with the game crashing, but it's definitely, hands down, the best handheld LEGO game to date. Reviews to Go rates LEGO Marvel Super Heroes 2 for the Nintendo Switch an 8.5 out of 10. If you'd like to discuss this further, feel free to below, or head to the website at www.reviewstogo.com.